Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Adam. Welcome to another Sim Market plane review, and today we're taking a look at the Vickers VC10 Professional from Just Flight. It's priced €60 on the Sim Market website. The link to the product is in the description box below. It came out in 2019 for FSX and P3D versions 1 to 4. I'm using it in version 5, and it is supported by version 5, although it doesn't state that on the Sim Market website. The VC10 is widely regarded as one of the most graceful jet airliners ever created, with its long, slim fuselage, clean angled back wings, and graceful swept back tail surfaces. The aircraft was designed by Vickers Armstrongs to fly on long-distance BOAC routes between the UK and Africa, and needed to be able to operate from hot and high airports with short runways. This resulted in an aircraft with superb performance, second only to the supersonic Concorde in terms of speed for a jet airliner. The VC10 was introduced into RAF service in 1965, operating in the transport, cargo and in-flight refueling roles until its retirement in 2013, nearly 50 years later. Now, Just Flight have given you a superb, accurately modeled standard and super civilian variants, with the C1K, the K3 and the K4 military variants of the VC10 in a variety of liveries covering their time in airline and RAF service. The detailed virtual flight deck includes 3D instruments, authentic wear and tear, and all 4 flight crew positions, the captain, the co-pilot, flight engineer and the navigator, modeled in high detail. So we're going to do a flight today. We are going to do a flight. We're here in La Ramona in the Dominican Republic, and we're going to do a very short flight up to Santiago here, Cibao International Airport, MDST. Now, this is a plane review, so we're going to be looking at 4 aspects of this plane: the download and installation and how easy it is to download and install. We're going to be looking at the modeling, how accurate is the modeling to the real life counterpart. We're going to be looking at the textures and how many liveries you get with it, so how high quality the textures are. And finally, we're going to be looking at the features that they give you with alongside the aircraft. Now, the thing I won't be looking at is the flight model. I've never flown a VC10. I've never flown on a VC10, so I have no idea how it's meant to handle. So I won't be talking about the flight characteristics, because I feel I don't have any business talking about that without any prior experience. Like I said before, you get about 5 different models of this aircraft with the download, which download and installation is very easy. Get it from your Just Flight or your Sim Market account. You download the installer to the simulator you want to put it in, and it will ask you, would you like to put it in as an XML add-on or in the SimObjects Airplanes folder? I chose the latter. It doesn't really make a difference how you install it. They both will work exactly in the same way. So the download and installation went very easily. It does install dependencies that it needs as well, but it went very easily and very quickly. 5 out of 5 for download and installation. Now, looking at the model of the plane itself, I gotta say, I took reference photos of real life, and the fact that you get 5 different types, you get the standard type, the super version, and then you get a C1K transport tanker and a K3 tanker. They're separate models, and a K4 tanker. So 5 different models with doors opening, cargo and passenger. Other animations include adding ground equipment rounds, and obviously you have the flaps usually, and the elevators and ailerons. They all animate and are working fine. The modeling of the plane, I feel, is accurate to its real-life counterpart. But what I don't feel is, in some areas, the modeling isn't as accurate or as high quality, let's say, as other areas. I feel like the engine, the overall fuselage, has been modeled perfectly. The wings, I feel, have been modeled in less detail. And obviously the interior, although it's got nothing to do with the flight simulation itself, hasn't really been modeled at all, and I'll show you that in a little bit later. So for me, for the modeling and the animations and everything, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Now with the textures, I think it's great. They give you about 20 different liveries. You got the British Airways, the various BOAC liveries from 1964, 1966, 1974. You have a Gulf Air. You have the obvious Just How Flight in-house livery. There's Nigeria Airways, and you also then get the super variants of BOAC, British Airways, and East African Airways. And then with the military variants, you get about 7 different liveries there. Now, I did notice there's kind of 2 liveries that are been omitted. I know that British Caledonian flew the Vickers VC10. You don't get that livery. And although you do get a British Airways livery, I did not see a BEA livery in this, which is, I think, British European Airways or something it stands for. You don't get that livery either, although I know that they actually did run this plane. In fact, there is a very famous air crash from BEA that is pretty well known. It was an episode of Air Crash Investigation. So those 2 liveries do not come with your pack, and I've searched everywhere and I can't really find them anywhere. So it's a shame really that they've omitted those 2 liveries, because they did actually operate this plane. But you do get a whole heap of liveries nonetheless. The texturing on the plane itself, I'm going to say, because I'm using it in V5, it probably will look a lot different than, say, V4 or even FSX. But I've got to say that I think the texturing is done very well. There is like obvious signs of wear and tear, and the PBR has been done beautifully for V5. No change required there. The texturing on the gear is really nice. Really shows a used, aged plane there. But like I said, that there are some textures, like the modeling, that could have been done better, I feel. Although whilst the wings are very nice, I feel that it's either the modeling or the texturing could have perhaps been done a little bit better on the wings, as nice as they are. But overall, I think the texturing, 4 out of 5. It's done very nicely. And very accurately as well. So we're going to do a quick flight. Now, I have done a bit of research about this plane in flight simulation. This is the only version of this plane in any flight simulator that I could find. Unless I could, may have missed one out in X-Plane or something. But there's only about 7 videos of this plane on YouTube. FS Elite reviewed this plane back in 2019 when it first came out, and then there's about 5 or 6 other people who have done flights in this plane on YouTube. Now, they all start, every single video starts with the engines running. There is not a single video on YouTube with this plane where they show the startup sequence, which is very, very, I find a bit weird. And when you look in the forums, it really does answer the question, because evidently nobody can get this plane started from cold and dark. There is a massive issue. Now, the developer assures everybody that it can start from cold and dark, It has a manual, which we're going to go through the features of this plane in a minute, but no one can seem to get it started. So the flight we do today, we're here at La Ramona. We're going to take her off. She is absolutely cold and dark right now. I haven't gotten on board or started her up one single bit. So we will get on board and we will start her up, and we'll do a flight, land her and put her back in a cold and dark state, all in this one review. Now this isn't going to be a lot longer than 5 minutes, because this plane is probably the most detailed simulation in P3D. There is so many aspects of this plane that if you don't get it right, you won't be able to A, start your engines, but B, even fly her correctly. It is so, like, either down to the development of the add-on or the way that the plane handled in its original reality anyway, the real life counterpart. I don't know. I honestly don't know which one it is. So I'll go through a lot of the features when we get into the air during cruise, and I'll talk a little bit about the VC10 and the real life counterpart. But what features do you get with this plane? Well, in the add-on section, you get, for the VC10 Professional, two panel states, a cold and dark and a ready for takeoff. I imagine the developers have added this ready for takeoff because they know people perhaps maybe won't be able to get the engine started. That's a guess. But you do get these two states. Now, when you first load into the plane, it will be in a state of powered on. So you can just set it to cold and dark like I have. It also comes with some ground equipment, and this will basically give you stairs, which I haven't selected yet. It will give you stairs at both of these passenger entrances. It will give you a baggage cart around the other side, and it will simulate a ground power unit, but it visually won't give you one, which is a bit strange, but it will simulate that. So that will need to be turned on in order for us to initially power up this plane. So but as well as it being here, there is a switch for it in the flight deck, so I'll use that. You also get a ground air supply. Now this is used for starting up an engine, and once you start one engine, you can start all four off each other if the pressurization is correct. But the ground air supply isn't visually modeled either. You'll hear it as an audio cue, but it will help you start your engines if you haven't activated the APU. It also comes with 3 hoses. Now these are only good when you're in flight, and this is for refueling, mainly on the military versions, but you can do mid-air refueling with these 3 hoses, which I think is a great addition. And you also have a fuel auto management system. Now this will only work when you're basically after liftoff and before you land. It doesn't cross-feed any fuel. It just manages the engine in the state that they need to be in during the various aspects of flight. It is best advised to not switch this on until you're lined up on the runway. If you switch it on now, you probably won't be able to start your engines. So I'm not going to turn that on just yet. What else do you get? You also get a couple of panel pop-ups. Now you get 2 INS panels. They are absolutely separate from each other. One is for the co-pilot, the other is for the radio navigator, and they act independently of each other. So if I was to switch one on, which can't really seem to, there we go, the other one doesn't come on at all. So they are independent ones. You also get a door configurator, so you can open the main door, the aft door, and then the 2 cargo doors, which I will say, the other cargo door I have yet to open, and I believe you need the power on for this cargo door, which is at the back here, to activate. So if I press this, it don't open, and I think it's because the power needs to be on. So that door obviously runs off the power, whereas these can be mechanically opened, I'm guessing, without power on. So let's get on board, shall we? And we'll have a look at the flight deck. we'll have a look at the cabin, and then we'll start this plane up. Another thing you get as well is a manual for this plane. Now this manual, it's only got 96 pages, but I'm scrolling and it's not going down. I do find that this, if you use Google Chrome, it's a very laggy manual. There we go, now it started. But it gives you an introduction of the plane. It covers all the panel states, showing you where everything is. It has a example flight with also the aircraft specifications. Gives you an example flight to go with, and it has a checklist at the bottom. Now the example tutorial flight and the checklist will not help you get these engines started, sadly. So the features that you get with this plane, I'm gonna have to give it a 3 out of 5. Although whilst they're very good, they're not complete, sadly. If you try and use the checklist to this, which is at the bottom, the engine simply will not start for you. You will be missing a few button switches, which we'll go through once we get on board. I'll show you how to get your engines started for those of you who can't. Okay, so getting on board into the cabin. The cabin, in terms of modeling, has basically not been done. So you get the seats on the side, very low quality, with what looks like a wall. And if we go through the wall and go to the outside and look in, it does actually look like there is a cabin of some sorts, because basically they've placed a very low quality texture behind the seats there to simulate something going on in the cabin there. But inside the actual cabin, you don't see any flooring either. But what you do see, which I think is really neat, and I don't think anybody's ever going to see this, and it does look like it's in high quality, is the hydraulics lines. You actually see all the hydraulic lines connected up. And they will move when you start moving and power up the plane. I'm moving my control surfaces now, but obviously they're not doing anything because there's no hydraulic power coming through. So I think that it's quite cool that they've actually modeled the hydraulic lines, but sort of omitted the cabin. You can see the cargo area there as well. But let's get into the flight deck. So obviously this area of the plane is non-essential. Is that a teddy or a turd? Is non-essential really for the flight, deck experience itself. Oh, hello. So from I'm still in the outside model, to be fair. You do get a crew of 4 in the outside model, and obviously this isn't the real flight deck. This is the flight deck itself. I think has been modeled to a very high degree of quality. Let's head over by the door here. Obviously we poke our head through this door, we ain't got nothing, but a couple of wings just for the shadowing, I think. But the flight deck itself, I think, has been made in very high quality. Remembering I'm in V5, so you might see a slightly different flight deck. It has all the systems and stations on board that you could imagine for a VC10. You have the radiographer station. Now, not all the switches here do work, but what you do need for a radiographer, the INS works, and a couple of other switches, and that's really it. The ADF doesn't work. Whatever this panel here is right here doesn't work. These all don't work, but the lights do. The lights work. So a satisfactory station. The main station that you'll probably be getting used to is the flight engineer, and that looks very overwhelming. Now, I gotta say, this has been modeled very accurately, okay, to the point where if you don't know what you're doing or you do it incorrectly, nothing's gonna happen. You're not going to start your engines. You have to kind of have an understanding of how this type of system works, this type, where everything is split up and has to be activated by a person, you kind of have to understand how it all works. There's been many times where I haven't understood that these switches here are spring loaded and they're centered, so they aren't actually turned on until you flick them up and actually activate them. You don't even know that they're on, and you won't have any movement in the yoke, which I'm turning now, because none of these systems have been activated. Obviously we haven't got any power either, but I've had couple of flights where my controls have been locked out and I'm thinking this is broken and this is rubbish. But just like the flaps as well, the elevator trim is spring loaded as well, so if I move that, it moves back to position because it's spring loaded. You need to understand basically how this plane works before you can even attempt to fly it. And then here we have the captain and the co-pilot stations with the overhead, which has a lot of things going on, but the captain has control of the lights for the landing and takeoff, and the co-pilot has control over the heating and various other things as well. So this really does beg a shared flight deck experience. It's such a shame that Just Flight haven't included a shared flight deck, because imagine you and your friends in this plane working together flying. It just would be amazing, and it's such a shame that it's not been done. So anyway, without further ado, let's get going as the time is ticking and we're on the clock here. So if we head over to the flight engineer station here, right next to it, I'll go through the systems of the flight engineer in a sec, but here is also a load of systems that are simulated, namely the ground power unit. So we flick this to ground and we turn the ground jack to on, and you'll notice now if we go outside, we have these stairs in place, which obviously I had GSX stairs in. So now if you want to get rid of these stairs, you can find the texture for them, and if you just remove that texture, they will become invisible models now. Obviously they'll still load in the sim, but they will be invisible, so you won't actually see them. And you also get the carts here, which will get in the way for GSX. So I think Just Flight have kind of thought to themselves, not everybody has GSX, so we'll give them something to simulate a passenger, and a cargo load. But you don't see any animated passengers, or there's no animations of any kind. So these stairs are basic at best, but like I said, if you want to not see them, just remove the texture for them and they won't show visibly to you. So that's putting the ground jack on. Now that ground jack gives us a external power. So let's quickly, before I turn on the power, let's go through this panel really quickly. At the top here we have the fuel transfer system at the top, which is essential for having fuel running into the lines of the engines. We also have the booster, the pumps that pump the fuel from the tanks into the engine. These gauges here are how many kilograms are being pumped through. Your fuel tanks are also those, but how much fuel you've got here burning is here. Sorry, these are your tanks of fuel. Below the pumps you have the cocks, which also need to be opened, as well as these cocks down here to add the mixture together. And then obviously you got your temperature control switches down here, and these are your engines. 4 power plants on board this plane. So you will be watching these dials when the engines will start up. Moving over, we have the anti-ice airframe system, which does need to be activated, but these are the switches down here to actually turn it on. So you have to have already set it up here before you go to activate it here. So I suggest turning this on the ground, so you only need to flip these on in the air. This is your flaps section, so you won't be able to pull out any flaps if you haven't set this up properly. These are your hydraulics, so you won't have any hydraulics unless you set this up properly. Moving up to the top, we have the aileron section. If this is not turned on, you will not be able to use your yoke. Same with your spoilers here. They're all spring loaded, so you still need to flick them to the normal switch section for it to activate the system. Moving down, you have the compressor, low pressure monitors here, and the air conditioning system here, which can be set alongside with the oxygen system here to cool down your cabin. Moving down, we have the compressor plants and the discharge valves and the pressurization of the aircraft just here. And the APU startup is just here. Now, this section here is not mentioned in the checklist one bit. The electrical system is the next thing that's down here. Sorry, the generators, then the electrical system. So ground power, we will turn on ground power, but we need to make sure we're set up for it first. So I'm going to flick the switch. We're going to use the battery 2. So we flick that on. And obviously, as you notice, these have to all line up to make sure that the flow of the current is going correctly. So we can actually turn that to close. And now, once I turn the battery on, we should have power. Boom. And as you can see, we are running straight away off the ground power. So, in order to set this up properly, you need to understand how AC, DC, and the true system actually works. There are three basic systems here running. You have the DC system, which stands for direct current, which means that the currents runs in only one direction. Then you have the AC system, which is alternating current, which means it can go backward and forward and at a frequency, so it oscillates. And then you have a true system, which is somewhere here. There it is. And it stands for transformer rectifier unit. Knowing how these work is key to get it running. Also, if you have any time zone manipulator or weather engine that does reload your sim, you will lose the sound when it does that. So all you have to do is nip back outside and then back in, and the sound will resume. I dare say double tapping the sound button, which is Q by default, will also do that. I've changed Q to be my Q&H reset, so I can't do that. But swapping camera positions to outside the wind will sort that out. So as you can see, we are off the ground power at the moment. So, but we haven't finished setting up this section here. So I'm going to sort of flick on the other battery, and then make sure. So that needs to go to norm. That needs to go to norm. So all these now are aligned. That one's not going to be aligned because we're running off bus 2, battery 2. But if I flip it, then it will align, but it knocks off that one. So obviously you do need to have one of them running for you to have volts and for the system to be running through with electricity. I'm going to trip these, and then we're going to turn on our gens. These will come off once we go to start our engines. I'm going to activate all of these so I can actually have power to my yoke. There we go. Right. So I suggest when you're wanting to start this up is start with your power, move up and across and back down. So basically we're going to activate the air conditioning system and make sure, basically you're making sure everything is set to, we're not going to turn it on though, we're going to actually turn it off. So we're not having it on yet, we're just setting up the switches ready, so when we do want it on, let's add the flow needs to be higher. When we do turn it on, it will just run. So that goes to auto, that goes to auto, and these go to auto. And then moving down, just discharge valves need to be, so you might find that some of these are back to front, so it says normal there, and if we hover on it, it says normal now. So I think it is like a bit skew iffy here. And we'll shut these, and this is a test, so that's fine. And we're running off the second battery, so we'll just flick that to 2, and that's now set up. I'm going to turn on the anti-ice systems so they are ready for when we need them. Now you only need to flick one of these switches because that's for the left, and then this is for the right. You don't want to do both on the same. And we'll give the galley their power. So, oh no, that's not galley power, my bad. Galley power is here. So now the girls in the back can start doing their thing. So we shall call for loading of the passengers now. I've already fueled her up. Fueling this plane takes absolutely a long time. This takes forever to load up the fuel. So I mean 25% took me 15 minutes. So that's like almost an hour probably to fuel her up to 100%. So just remember that when you're planning your flights. Right, hydraulics need to go on now. And then we can set our park and brake, which to be honest was already set. And I did notice that, but we'll say nothing. That's already in line. So all it really is about making sure that these line up with the white lines, and that's about it. So that hydraulic panel is on. What flight level are we going up to today? Flight plan says we're going up to 180, so the Barrow where we are right now is 3004. And we're going up to 18,000, so let's set this up for the altitude of 18,000. There we go. And the climb selector we'll do it 1,000 feet per minute. There we go. So that's the pressurization panel set up. The air conditioning, we will done all the DC and AC. Yes, that's set up. That's set up. Done. Right. So now that we've done that, let's set up the rest of it. So we want the lights on, emergency lights on, stowage lights, water, engineer's light, wings. Oh, wing inspection light shouldn't actually go on now, but say nothing of it. Turn the water pumps on, so the galley girls can have their power, and then we can turn on the lighting, which this lighting is very well done. You have a lot of control over it. Right, radiographers, lighting, and then of course you've got your INS system. So we turn this to DS stasis. We can turn on and if you I mean, we're not going to use, I'm not flying by INS, so I'm not going to be setting this up, but I will turn it on and set it to align. But so it'll start the countdown here as it gets more accurate, but you obviously do need to feed in your positioning, I believe, of where you are. So I honestly, I don't know how to do this. So west 06. See, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how you use this, but I will activate it. Right, back at the flight deck here. We need to turn on our brake hydraulics. So that's a heading. Ailerons armed. And the... you know what, I'm going to set a camera position up here so I can co-pilot a lot easier. And that way, if I ever want to fly as a co-pilot, I can. There we go. Okay, so they're on low already, so that's fine. Navigation lights, we're going to set that to the battery for now. I'm going to turn on these lightings.
This way, please.
And can't really see what I'm doing here. Pitot heaters, I'm just going to turn them on now. Don't have to, but I just will. Smoking, fasten seatbelts. Everybody get down and boogie for when you're ready. Wow, they're the dynamic lights. We won't be using them. They're too bright. Captain's got some controls of lighting here. Roof lights, again, dynamic lighting too bright. Fluorescent as well, man, which is pretty cool. And you can have, right, check this out, submarine mode. Oh, you got to turn on the fluorescence first. No, it is. Oh, it was off. There you go. Submarine mode. You can have a red light throughout your flight deck. How cool is that? I like that, but we're not going to use it. Okay, so Q&H. Yep, everybody get on board. Q&H is 3004. So set that up. That's going down. 3004. Runway we take off today from is runway 29. So the heading is 289. So we'll set that up. 289. You can hear the Just Flight sounds coming through, I hope. If you click off your screen, you will not hear anything. As you can hear, engines disappear. Yeah, you can hear that. I'm going to turn the sound up a little bit so you get the sound now. I would say that this is faithfully accurate modeled, but please get in touch with me if you are a VC10 pilot and you feel otherwise. I'd be very interested. So we're going to be flying by VOR today, but I don't know. Let me check my flight plan here. Have we actually got any VORs? The VOR on this isn't very powerful. This is meant to be. This is a long-range flyer, and it's meant to be used with the INS system. The VOR has about 150-mile range, so it's not great, and there's no distance measuring equipment on here. You won't know how far away from the VOR you are. So I'll tell you what, we're going to cheat. We're going to use Navigraph like a GPS on this flight, so I'm not going to tune anything in. Now, here is a very complicated center panel, okay? Obviously, you got the ADFs, the navs, the comms, they all work fine. You have your flight number here, which for some reason, not your flight number, your transponder number, which doesn't actually work. Rudder trim, interconnection system for your jack box, which is already connected when you load in, and the chart, you can have that turned on or off. You have your aileron trim section here, and
Hello?
these two buttons power the autopilot. If you want your autopilot to activate, you have to turn the power onto it first. Otherwise, you can't actually set your autopilot. So if we turn it off, it won't actually activate. Other things you have to have activated in order for your autopilot to work is the yaw dampener system and the dampener. Then you can set your autopilot. If you don't have any of these connected, as you just heard, it disconnects the autopilot. You have to really understand this system in order to use it, okay? Obviously, heading mode, manual, lock, the usual suspects there of navigation, as well as your auto dampener adjuster. And then these are your pitch vertical speed selectors. The most interesting thing, I think, though, is this little sucker here. The auto throttle system. Now, these 4 buttons up here do sweet FA. So they're on by default, but they don't do anything. So if you want to have a little fun of flicking extra switches, go right ahead, but they won't do anything. But the auto throttle system, let me just move the thing out of the way, has to be engaged for it to be used, right? And you've got 2 auto throttle systems. You then set the power speeds that you wish the throttles to gain to, right? Then you turn on your autopilot and activate the airspeed hold, and it will hold the airspeed you've asked it to. So we're going to set that to 180. But it won't take into consideration wind. So if you get a tailwind, you will start to overspeed. And then you'll notice your speed is rising above what the auto throttle is set at, because this doesn't take into consideration exterior forces on the aircraft. It just auto throttles to the power that you've asked it to, which has to be concurred here with the bug as well. So 180 there, and then 180 there, and then it would work. You also get a light to indicate that you're using your auto throttle system when you turn it on here. So if you find yourself overspeeding, you have to disengage the auto throttle, get it back to the speed that you want to hold it at, then engage it, and then it will hold it again until there's another wind change. This is such a fruity plane to fly. Like, you're either going to love it or you're going to want to kill yourself. Is that an oxygen mask down there? Can we have a hit of oxygen? Does that work? I just noticed it.
Good morning.
No, can't get in. It doesn't work. It's not simulated. Some of these things aren't simulated, but they are represented. They are there, but they're not simulated. Right, gear is down, and we're going to be ready for takeoff soon. Let me just make sure the overhead is correct. Oh, we need to turn on the stall protection. We'll use system 1 on that. We shall be using system B for the hydraulics. Auto ignition is guarded. That's the safety switch. You don't need to worry about that. And if we were going to align the nav for our officer, we could do that, but I'm not going to. So that pretty much is it, I feel. Let's extend the lighting. We want to obviously turn it on. Like I said before, I think this plane has been well made. It's really finicky to get working now. And now that... Yeah, we need to keep the jack on. Actually, let's start the APU up. Then we can get rid of that ground power unit. We won't need it. So, in order to get this running, again, you have to know how to... So we turn on our APU, right? But we need to first off turn on the pumps. We haven't actually turned the pumps on, so that's a ripperoni, isn't it? They have fueled us up, so we will start that up. Let's turn on the pumps. So the transfer pumps need to be opened first. And that's just basically turning all of these to activate our little didgeridoo switches. Making sure everything's lined up is the key to getting this working. So that needs to be open, that needs to be open, and now the transfer lines are open. Fuel is not going anywhere though, because we haven't turned on the cocks. So let's open up the cocks and the inter-engine cocks. Fuel is still not going anywhere, by the way. Let's open up the temperature control systems. Now we turn on the pumps. Now that the pumps are running, except for these ones, because the engines aren't running. That's why. Something amiss here. There is something amiss. I think it's because we haven't started the engines. That's why these haven't turned on. But that should be flickable, I feel. There we go. We missed one. So they're all on. Don't want to turn these on. These are the fuel jettison valves. We don't want that. So it is so easy to miss one. Right, so now that that is on, let's go turn on the APU. And we should get this cranked now. So open the bleeds and the heater. Start the APU. Nope, not close it, mate. Trip it. And the APU will say run when it's running. Might take a while to fire up. There it is. Our APU is now running. Let's go back to those valves. And they're still shut. I think that either might be a problem or won't be a problem. Yeah, I think we're all right. So far, so good. Right, let's connect these up now. So we have electricity running.
This way.
And that's connected. That's not. That doesn't turn until the engines are on. Right, we are ready for engine startup as soon as these peasants get on board. Now, this is how you will start your engines, okay? A very interesting starter panel here. Oh, the peasants have boarded. Right, so actually we can turn off the ground power, which will remove all those funky stairs, but we can actually get those doors shut now, which now that I turned on all the power, the one that I could not open should actually now open. No. Right, let's shut all these doors. Make sure that they're all shut. Shut the doors. Yep. Doors shut. Door shut. Door shut. Beautiful. Gotta make sure all the doors are shut, otherwise she won't be flying. Right. We are good. So we can turn on the oxygen system. So that's people can breathe. And now we can turn on the air recycling system. And the norm, done. Low pressure compressors are off because the engines aren't started. This is the temperature knob, so obviously we want it cool, as the temperature outside is 26 degrees, so it's bloody hot. Right, let me turn that to that one, and they can go to, yeah, they're discharged, so they should be shut. Okay, we're set up here. Right, we're ready for engine start, so we're going to get a pushback. So, oops-a-daisy. We have the APU running, but one thing they do say is, you know, if you don't start the APU, the ground air supply unit running. If we push that, you'll hear an audio visible cue when it starts up. Again, if you're running the APU, you don't need it. Okay, so these can go on, and we've got the wing inspection light already turned on, so nav lights on now, beacon on, and we are ready for a pushback, my sir. Do you want engines before pushback? Ooh, that's a good question, that is. Do we want to start our engines before pushback? Yes, we do. Yes, because then you can disconnect the ground air unit. Right. Here he comes walking over. So, heading mode is in effect. That don't work until we're actually done, so APU on.
We are ready for pushback.
Setting yourself up for success is great. Oh, there's the DME there. Ha! Only just found it. Look at that. I've only done 4 or 5 flights in this plane. First one, I ran out of fuel because I haven't checked the fuel tanks. Yeah, you gotta check your fuel tanks, make sure the fuel is aligned correctly. So here, no fuel in that one. They only got fuel in the center tanks by the looks of it. So in all honesty, we would not need to turn on. We've got no fuel to these 2 tanks. So starting up our other 2 engines might be problematic. Do need fuel in the tanks to start up. Now that we're off the ground power, by the way, we can switch over to the generator because it's not actually plugged up. We need to push back facing nose left. So we're going to turn this onto the bus, and we're feeding off bus 2. Because we haven't got a ground power unit, so we can close that, but it won't trip off yet. We'll trip it. Go on, Jack. Tell me I can start my engines. What's going on? What's he doing? He's jacking. It doesn't give you any like proper performance tables for your engine power, so you kind of do need to know your engine and like where to set it. Is he waiting for me to start my engines? I think he might be waiting for me to start my engines, so we shall start up our engines. So, the way you start your engines. I like to turn all of these on, okay, regardless. You would only activate it though once you've started, so then you need to come down here and you flip this to LP start, and then up start your engine, down when it starts to relight. So let's start engine number 1, shall we? This green light happens, there we go. Engine starts to rotate, hopefully. Yes, it's going. Engine 1 is going. You won't actually hear them because they're at the back of the plane, so you won't actually hear the engine start, but you'll know it catches, which it has. Let me start my engine 2, mate. Parking brakes released. Engine number 2 is starting up. Waiting for it to catch. It's caught. So that goes to relight. Start number 3. Start number 3, mate. Start that again. There we go. I guess number 2 hadn't finished its rotation or something. Number 3 is starting. Wait for it to catch. It's caught. Relight. And finally start engine number 4. There we go, starting up. Make sure those lines for some reason are not open. And there you go, it's caught. We have 4 successful engines. I can go back down to there and we can go outside and have a look. My mouse will allow me. And there we go, 4 running engines. So we want to check the validity here. Yes, yes. These 2 obviously are not doing. Oh, reset parking brake. Okay. Yeah, I think we have, mate. Let me just double check here. Let's wind up the power. I think we only have 2 engines that have started, to be fair, because there's no fuel in the others. Yeah, we've only got 2 engines today, guys, because they ain't got fuel in the other tanks. Right, so we're going to turn on the fuel auto management system and confirm good engine start.
Cockpit to ground.
I don't know if this is going to get us in the air because we've only got 2 engines, so that's going to be interesting because the fuel didn't go between all the tanks. Anyway, let's taxi now. We need to turn left here, set of flaps for takeoff, trim, up for takeoff. We're going to be looking for 140 rotation speed, and we're going up to 180. We'll set our altitude 180. I honestly don't know if this will be a successful flight, but remember, this isn't about how I fly this plane. It's about the plane itself. And I would say right now this plane is a 4 out of 5. Right, taxi lights need to go on. And we can go. The lighting in this, by the way, is sublime. Very nice. Very nicely done. I would say that this is well worth the money to pay. Although 60 euros, I would also say, is very expensive. Right, let's go. Now, these engines you really have to rev in order to get moving, and probably more so, we've only got 2 running. So, I don't know if we're actually going to be able to take off on 2 engines. Should be able to. So as you can see, my throttles are pretty much maxed out, almost, and we're only just starting to go. So yeah, I don't think we're gonna have a successful flight here. 2 generators are not on. That's not good. I'm gonna sort that out. Let me just trip them. Actually, no, I don't want to trip them. Joe, we'll just leave it. Right, let's get onto the runway. Put my landing lights on now. Beautiful, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay. So we need to hang a right here. The DMEs, your thingy does, compass has to be reset, so I've key bound it, but you do need to regularly reset your compass. It doesn't automatically do it for you. This plane is the perfect mixture between retro and new, I would say. I love how they've put in the description here, animated captain's armrest for improved visibility. So you can remove your armrest, you know, that's a feature. I love that. It is custom coded fuel system with wing and center fuel tank transfer and jettison, crossfeed and low pressure and high pressure COT controls. There's custom coded autopilot, thrust reverse system, realistic trim lever operation, aircraft configuration system that will allow you to choose between cold and dark and ready for takeoff. It's fully compatible with default control assignments. Realistic engine start procedures using ground air and cross bleed, which I think we have to disconnect actually. I don't think I actually disconnected the ground air supply. Whoops. Like I said, we're 2 engines out, so I've never done this. I'm kind of interested to see if she takes off on 2 engines. If she won't, then we will have to add the fuel to the tanks, but they will flame out, so I don't know. Got enough fuel for the journey, that's the important thing. Let me look at our departure here. So we depart and just go straight to the other airport basically. Right, let's slow her down a bit. And we'll do our turn here. We've already got flaps set for takeoff. I think the sounds on this are very nice. Okay. We're running out of steam here. Let's get her going again. I honestly don't think we're going to have enough power to take her off. Controls are free and clear. Right. Autopilot. Here we go. Moment of truth. Will she take off on 2 engines? Let's rock and roll.
Takeoff thrust.
Set. She's going. She's going on 2 engines, guys. I don't think she's going to get up to speed. Takeoff speed is like 136, 140, I'm going to say. Oh, she might get there.
80 knots.
80. Just needs more runway. 100. I think he'll tell me to rotate as well.
V1.
V1? Really?
Rotate.
Really? Rotate, mate? Okay, you said it.
V2.
Boom. Point of no return. Gear up.
Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. Gear coming up. Flaps. Flaps up.
Gear up.
And we're off. Right, so our course that we need to be going is 289, which we are. Power is coming in, so auto dampener on. The dampener is on. The autopilot power is engaged. Setting the autopilot and the speed, we're in heading mode. So she should keep this speed of 180, which we've locked in, and added the auto throttle now. We can use trim to point her up. See, she's already overspeeding, so we will just add a bit more trim here. Point her up. Keep her on 180 we need. But the the speed thing hasn't actually engaged. Okay, we're losing speed more than I wanted to. There we go. Flaps are fully up. Wheels are up. And we'll need to be doing a turn to 327 in a second. Beautiful. It's a beautiful day to crash a plane. So it is possible to take her off with 2 engines. That's pretty cool. I think we need to up our speed here to 200 knots. We'll turn the auto throttle off, reset the gauge, reactivate it, and it should hold. With the IAS, reset that, and it should hold me at this speed. There we go, auto throttle engaged. Speed seems to be dying. It's coming back down. Right, let's turn to 327. I'm not using VOR, I'm just using the courses on my charts. Let's get the arrival up. No, there is no arrival. It's an RNAV approach, but we can't really fly that. I mean, it's a simple 327 and then we're on our thingy. So the plane's pitching down to try and keep that speed, 200. I have faith in the plane. And then when the speed comes back, she will pitch back up. 200 is probably too high. We have got Have we got a VOR in the area? No, we haven't. So there we go. Speed's coming back in as we pitch up. I think 200 is too much, because as we get 200 we lose the speed. The nose pitches down. If we look over here, obviously we've got lights. You shouldn't have any lights on, but we have, because something is wrong. So that's normal, because obviously some of the engines are actually out, so that is correct. Temperature is about 21 degrees, that's fine. Low pressure cocks. We've got low pressure warning here. And what's the temperature? Outside temperature is still 20 degrees, so we're still good. I think we're gonna lower the speed to 190. And then that will still climb us nicely. We're only at 5,000 feet. We do need to get height because, in all honesty, we got mountains coming up. And we will hit them if we don't. Reset the compass. Speed's still flagging a bit. But we're okay. We'll go with it. Don't think we're going to get up to 18,000. So, in fact, let's try and help the plane out by setting 13,000. Because we're halfway there then. I feel like we can do that a lot better. Let's reset our altitude for standard. Beautiful. Yeah, that didn't properly align, did it? Turn it off. Shut it down. Shut it down. We don't need it. VOR is the only way to fly. But we're not flying by VOR either, to be honest, because I haven't got any VORs. I'm cheating. I've got GPS. We got an onboard GPS system. So the VC10. This is a mid-sized, narrow-body, long-range British jet airliner designed and built by Vickers Armstrongs, first flown at Brooklyn, Surrey in 1962. The VC10 is often compared to the larger Soviet Ilyushin 62, the two types being the only airliners to use a rear-engine, four-engine layout, while the smaller business jet Lockheed Jetstar also has this engine arrangement. The VC10 was designed to operate on long-distance routes from the shorter runways of the era and commanded excellent hot and high performance from operations from African airports. The VC10 was also used from 1965 as strategic air transports for the Royal Air Force, and ex-passenger models and others were used as aerial refueling, which you can do in P3D. It's just such a shame that the British Caledonian version isn't here, and the BEA variant isn't here either. 7,000 feet, climbing nice. This is gonna be a good flight, guys. We need to get down for our approach to 3,500 feet for the landing. So it's literally as soon as we get up. I'm gonna release the passengers from their seats, so passengers can now move about as we're steady. Reset the compass. Coming up on 9,000 feet soon. Going through misty clouds. Very nice. Looking at our instruments here, speed's doing well. Auto throttle is holding. Ah, transponder. Not simulated. It's the weather radar anyway. Which I don't believe is simulated either. Nope. It does have a weather radar, but we obviously don't have one. Trying to find a VOR that I can tune into. Just in the area, but can't seem to find one. There's one at Santiago, 114.9. Let's tune into that. 114.9. It's deactive, and there it is, tuned in. But that's not going to help me, to be honest, because that's past the airport. So if we were going to that one, it would be that way, and it's 732 miles away. I don't think so. That's not correct. I mean, I'm going to say it's 29 miles away, and that 7 is incorrect. There's no way it's over 700 miles away. Right, I want to turn off the landing lights now. And we're going to bring the landing lamps up. Retract it all. Beautiful. Speed's coming down, which is alright. She's still climbing nice. We're still getting away with it. Temperatures 20 degrees. We'll only be at cruise for a short amount of time, because by the time we get up to cruise, it'll be time to come down. That is the direction of the airport. But we need to set up for our approach. So we have to go a little bit after the airport, or a little bit side of it, whatever it's called. I wonder if those transfer tank things, do they work on this version, or is it just the military one? Might be just the military one. Cause I ain't seen anything come out. Yeah, it's just obviously the military versions. So mid-air refueling with military variants only. speed will rise once we level off, if we make it. She's doing about 180. We wanted 190, but that's fine by me. She's climbing nicely. By the time we get up to 13, we will have to come straight back down again for the landing. Heading to the runway is 294, so let's set that course up now. 294. There is actually, hang on, there is an ILS frequency for this runway, I think. No, the ILS is on runway 11. So there's no ILS. Yeah, 114.9 is, oh, that's the airport VOR. So this airport does have a VOR. Why isn't it on my chart? You'd think it would be. Oh, yeah, we got a bit of flashing here. What's that? Whoa. Whoa. We got a weird phenomenon happening. What is going on? 587 miles away? Come on, mate. Pull the other one. Only the VOR is accurate. Although it is in nautical miles. So 11,000 feet and climbing nicely. We will need to start our descent though soon. When I turn off from ribs, I will start need to going down. So regardless of what we get to, it might literally be a case of hit 13. We might not even make 13. So if we look at our approach, the runway is here. So we come in, turn that way, and then turn in for the approach. We're almost at ribs. This is our top of descent. On the flight plan, our actual top of descent was Curso, which is here now, but that's 18,000, so 13,000 for me is ribs, but I don't even know if we get to 13,000. We're coming up on 12, and the power is just not there. So maybe we should set this down to 180 instead. That might help her. Runway 294. Let's reset. It is set for 294. So we'll know when we're lined up at least with the runway. Yeah. So we need to do a turn in a minute to I'm gonna guess 294. But it might be a little bit like 290. Three, two, one. We should be going. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay, it looks like we're going to make 13,000, but as soon as I get up to 13, I need to set her up for the ascent down. And as soon as I start moving this down, she will pitch down. And then I need to reset for 1,000 feet per minute. And then I think the speed will have to come down. Doing nice. Oh, look at that. Look at that. And them engines. Doing well. Two engines. Two engines, man. Okay. Let's do our turn 290, and we're going to set up for our landing 3500. So 3500, which has already started descending. 3500. We want the vertical speeds. We need speed at 165, I reckon. And pitch set for hang on, set for 1,000 feet per minute. Seems to be rising up now. Recycle the autopilot. Yeah, she ain't playing ball here. Come on, we need to go down, love. Can't set the VS speed for some reason. Don't know why. Right, we need to retard our... We're gaining too much speed here. So let's bring our power back. Disconnect the auto throttle. I'll manage this. I'm going to turn the landing lights on now, so it's going to be easier for me later on. So I have one stage of flaps out. So you can see the slats are out. And the first stage of flaps are out. And we've lost speed considerably because we pointed our nose up for some reason. We're about to stall, but we're going to recover it. She's going down. Right. Get on that side of the old... Right, I'm going to take the autopilot off and I'm going to hand fly her now. So autopilot is off. Daddy's got the plane. Come on, we need to get her down. Let's go. Let's go. Right. Speed's okay. We're descending nicely, 10,000 feet. Just need to keep the course. Coming in nicely. Let's have a look at our systems over here. Still got a few lights that I shouldn't really be on. Oh gosh, I never did turn on the generator too. Whoops-a-daisy. Oh my god. That probably didn't help. Ooh, hello. Engine 2. Oh, hang on. Have we got power in engine 2? No, we are. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Okay, she's doing better now. Okay. We need to do a turn. What's the turn? 024. In a sec. Let me set that up already. 024. Get that ready. There we go. 186 miles away. Nautical miles. No. Don't know if that's accurate. 8,000 feet. We're doing just fine. Doing just fine, buddy boy. Doing just fine. Getting a bit windy, I think. Need a bit more speedo. Engines are all fine. 2 generators have failed. I don't think tripping them does nothing. Yeah, tripping them does nothing. Yeah. It's all good. Right, let's do our turn. 024 now. So, here we go. And we're going to need to slow her down to 150, I think. So bring out a stage once we line up. And then immediately we go back onto course once this lines up. So it'll be 294. Oops, a daisy. Line her up, line her up. 294. Which should be soon. Let's have another stage of flaps. Now let's do our turn now. Let's drop the gear. As we are coming in for landing. We might have overshot our turn. Should see the runway somewhere. We have overshot, so we'll overcompensate. And we'll have the final stage of flaps out. Oh dear. That's what they look like. Beautiful. Okay, I don't see the runway, but we should be lined up with it soon. We should be lined up with it now, in fact. We're below our 3,000 feet. We're on final, so we should see it. Let's pitch her up a bit. She might come in at the last minute. Okay. Still don't see her as we fly in over. Lights should, I think it's got pappy lights. It must have pappy lights at least. Coming over the houses, the old neighborhood. I'm sure they don't mind. Where are you? We are lined up, I believe. So we should see it. Right, we're literally lined up now, so looking for some paps. Show me the paps. Oh, is that it? I don't know. hard to keep her course. Oh, that's gotta be it. If it ain't, man, I'm gonna go for it. That's gotta be it. That's it there. That's it. That's it right there. I see her. Runway right there. Coming in for landing, boys. Here we go. Our runway landing speed is literally what we're doing now. So, of course, it's not about me flying the plane. It's not about me landing the plane successfully. It's about, I mean, she's performed exactly as intended, I feel. Right, landing gear 3 green down. Here we go. We watch the speeds. We'll get our reversers in when we come in. Here we go. Short runway by the looks of it. Coming in nicely. Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah. Pure gold, my friend. Pure gold. Reverse. Engines died.
80 knots.
Touchdown. Crowd goes wild. Reversers up. Booyaka shack. Reversers are up. Light braking. And that is what I call a successful landing, folks. Oh yeah. Right, looks like we're gonna have to do a turnaround here. Looks like there's a taxiway coming off. Boom! Yaw dampener off. Dampener off. And we'll keep our landing lights on. We're on the runway. Hopefully we've got enough fuel to get her back to the wherever we're going. Which is a bit slow, and I'm hitting the takeoff thrust setting here almost. Let's get her flaps up. Let's clean her up. Flaps up. Trim centered. And that's centered. We'll say it is. She ain't moving that much. Turn the anti-ice off. Well, we never activated it because it has never been high enough. Right, we're gonna have to
take off thrust.
Take off thrust to get her going here. There we go. I think a plane just came in to land. Oh, a plane just did it go around?
Take off thrust.
There we go, we got her going. Have to set takeoff thrust to get her moving here.
Take off thrust.
There we go. Turn off that. Don't think there's a button you can push to stop the annoying thing. You just gotta lower your throttle so it turns it off, but lower it too much, then we're not going to actually have enough thrust to get going. Alright, we will be coming off the taxi soon, so Taxi lights on. That is what you call a successful flight. So we will park her up and then deboard these passengers and then shut her down. VC10, folks. Very nice. Alright, let's see what we can do up with the overhead here. Pit outs can come off. Seatbelt signs we actually never turned on. Whoops. Well, it was a smooth landing, I'm sure. I'm sure the numbers were good on that landing. So, whoops. Right, we're going to rock up to one of those gates. I'm not going to use the gate. I don't think the gate actually works, but we will rock up to it. At least that's why I know I'll, be on point. We can turn off the oxygen system, to be fair. We don't need oxygen pumping through when we're on the ground. It's already there. We can actually turn off also the air conditioning. Do the rest in a minute. Here we go, we're over here. The wood would be moving faster if I had 4 engines, but Daddy only choose 2. So we gotta give it a little bit more power.
Takeoff thrust.
There we go. And we'll just go straight to the gate for quickness. Follow these lines in. There we go. Taxi lights can come off. There we go. Beautiful. B5. And capture. Park and brake on. Open up the doors. Kill the engines. We got an APU running, which we never turned off. So we should have power still running through the system. Quickly finish shutting down the air conditioner. And let's get the jack in. The ground power unit. Oop. Oh, ground power's up here. There we go, we got power still and call for the gates. The stairs. And just call for a visual air GPU as well. So, right. Finish off this. Trip. Reset. Done. Let's turn off the fuel pumps. Except for the... well, we'll just turn off the 1 and 4 in all honesty, because I don't know which pumps power the APU. But we will shut off all the chocks and the temperature and call for deboarding. Leave on all the transfers, but these two. Leave all that on. Turn off the anti-ice systems.
The passenger's bus is coming.
And turn off the hydraulics. We don't need them now. The chocks are in place. Doors are open, so that's all good. And that's all off. Wind inspection lights off. Water pumps are off.
Passengers deboarding starting.
Trip these two generators. And trip all the generators really. What else? That's basically about it. We'll just leave the power running on the actually we'll turn that to that and turn off the isolate them and turn off the galley power. Oh, hang on. Yeah, off. What's the other position then?
Goodbye.
Oh, it's just on. Okay. Right, so that's as cold and dark as you need it to be honest. So, done. That is a successful flight. They're getting rid of all the crap. I don't know if that door ever opened at the back. It seems to be locked, but... well done. There we go. That's it. I'm going to give this plane a 4 out of 5. Thank you so much for watching this. Don't forget, I give away €50 of FLIGHTSIM vouchers for Sim Market. All you have to do to be in with a chance to win is subscribe to the channel, leave comments down below in any one of my videos, and at the end of every single month I do go live with a vlog and announce the winner. Take care, and I shall see you in the next one, guys. Bye.